Welcome to the Judgment Free Zone. You've downloaded the Alcohol Free Marriage Podcast, episode 39 for January 30th, 2023.
Now adjust the volume control so that the sound can be heard in all parts of the room.
Recorded live from the cornfields of Central Illinois, you're listening to the Alcohol Free Marriage Podcast with Matt and Amy. Come and learn and share a journey with two former craft beer enthusiasts who went from daily drinkers to teetotalers and basically never lost their love for their life together.
Hey, a freak show!
Hello there, children. Welcome to the new and improved Alcohol Free Marriage Podcast Freak Show. I am Matt, along with the always lovely and in this new fancy podcast studio, Coach Amy. How are you, my love?
I'm excited.
Finally, after podcasting since 2007, not this podcast. No, 2006, 2005? I don't know. Our first podcast was...
We started in 2005.
Yes, years ago. My dream has always been to have like an actual pseudo-legit podcast studio. All it took was 22 years and throwing a child out of the house to finally have one.
Well, and it's...
We have this cool... If you're on the video, on the YouTubes, we have this cool screen here that we can put graphics on. Hopefully it doesn't crash. So far, so-ish, goodish.
Well, they're probably seeing it kind of cut off there.
Yeah, I don't think I have the camera high enough. But anyway,
Oh, well.
good.
You know what? It gets better.
It gets better. I don't want to come out of the gate perfect because then you expect way too much.
You guys, we've got it. But anyways, we have spent the past 2 weekends
Yes.
on this project.
New paint, new screen, same desk that was in here, same futon, still kind of Luke's stuff, but new drapes, new floor.
It is. It's his stuff. His stuff's in the closet. Before he left, we said, okay,
You
you're
want it, throw it in
graduating,
there, otherwise it's garbage.
But there's so much in here, and it's like, do you want this stuff? And so before he left, he went through, got everything sorted. We have donated a bunch of clothes.
Oh, gosh, yes.
Thrown out a bunch of just
Junk.
And he kind of went through and he picked out the things that have sentimental value to him.
Still has his blankie from when he was little.
That I don't even know if he knew was on the very
he
top
did.
shelf.
He picked that stuff out a long time ago.
And so we have all of that. It's in the closet. Now we have as someone put on your Facebook page on yours, that it was like, we have like an audience.
Oh yeah, you can sit out here in front.
We have the futon set up.
Yes, you can be part of the studio audience.
If
with
you
Oreo.
want, you could be, because we have an audience of one.
Yes.
One corgi.
I don't know from the camera standpoint where we'd put people, but audio would work out just fine. So yes, very excited about the new studio.
Yeah, we are.
I pointed out one important thing about doing this job was the flooring, which is the first time I ever put in hardwood floor. Well, laminate floor, but whatever. But I told Amy, I said, you know what? I've noticed that from quitting drinking, I'm not like hell-bent to just fire through something and try and get it done regardless of cost. Like now, let's take my time, figure it out as I go. It's okay if it doesn't all get done this second.
Yeah, not getting everything done immediately.
Making sure you have all the tools and
the
parts.
mess, although we know that the mess, it is annoying, I think you were much even better than last year when we went through a major overhaul of our main floor. But you were much calmer. I noticed that as well, like different things. If you cut something wrong, it wasn't like a...
The only thing that got me is this in his closet is these must be where
you hit your head and that...
No, I hit my back.
Okay, and that I can...
But otherwise, I was...
And that hurt, and I can completely... That wasn't an overreaction by any means. No. I mean, excuse me. You just really... Wow.
You really got a frog in your throat.
I got a frog in my throat.
But
here.
Yes, I would say overall handled it much better.
You did, and...
It's not a perfect install by any... I mean, the floor itself is okay. It's always the finishings like around the corners and edges. Don't look too close at that, kids. But you know what?
What you did with my assistance on that is you've made it visually
acceptable.
Like, it isn't something that if you saw it, you would like hone in. If you were looking and scanning the room, you'd be like,
oh, that's one way to finish that.
Well, I don't even know. I mean, it might go, oh, okay, well, but it doesn't like stick out. Like there's not a hole.
And I didn't glue those in, so I can always come back to it eventually.
Yeah, but it looks amazing. It's all painted. We had 5
and now we're
gallons of paint, this grayish color from our main floor, and we're like, we're going to use this.
Not 5 gallons left, but we had a 5-gallon tub.
Yeah,
probably 3 gallons left. So yeah,
and so this is the color that will be in our bathroom.
Be everywhere. If you visit our house, get used to this color.
It used to be called, which I think is funny because we went through. This is a grayish beige type thing.
Yeah,
but
whatever you want to be.
Used to be Bloomington beige years ago,
Yeah.
and this definitely has more of that gray tone, but not the light gray that everybody was wanting. Which now is,
I can't keep up.
Who cares? You know what's your house? Are you going to really try to keep your house completely in the up to date style? You can't.
Well, you keep stuff long enough, eventually it's cool again.
True.
Anyway, when you start going through rooms, you realize you haven't changed out all the doorknobs in the house.
One last knob that is brass, which is back.
Right.
But when the rest of your house is now brush nickel,
it stood out. I didn't get in that closet enough to really ever notice that.
We didn't.
So I went to go put it back up. I'm like, huh.
You know what? Did we change Maggie's?
Yes.
But I don't think when we did her room. So now we can go ahead and,
there you go.
And do Luke's.
Check that off on the list, kids.
But it's so nice.
It is. We love it.
And we're like last night we just sat up here.
You can watch TV up here now if you want. You can do. It's a media center. It's a podcast media center, really.
But I also felt
and we're finally high atop Red Corn Studios.
High atop.
We've always said high atop Red Corn Studios, and all we've ever done is go lower in the house into the basement.
That's true.
So we're finally high atop Red Corn Studios.
But I also was kind of feeling bad because this room is so nice now, and now but at least it'll be nice when Luke visits.
Yeah, I told him to charge him $10 a night now, though.
Yeah,
it's like Airbnb. Yeah. You can't stay here for free now.
But no, it's nice also because for 3 years we've kept the door shut.
Oh, because it was so nasty in here? Yeah.
Well, and it was also because his stuff, and he, I was just like,
it's easier to close the door.
I'm just done trying to
just ball it up and push it way down.
Clean up after a guy. No. And so, nice. And I think though, when he comes home, he'll probably, like we all do, we're like, oh, this is a nice area. We want to keep it nice.
Let's hope so. If not, at least at least now we know what to throw away and keep. So that's good. All right, children. Well, visit us at High Top Red Corn Studios. Yeah. But it's also the end of dry January, and you just introduced me to another rhyming dry term: stay dry till July.
Well, here's the thing.
It has to rhyme.
You're right. If it has anything to do with quit drinking, you need to have a rhyme because apparently only humans can follow advice within rhyme.
You don't do that when you drink. Don't get drunk in the trunk. I don't know. I don't know. Anyway, go ahead.
You're in a trunk. You've got some serious problems.
That may be your rock bottom, kids, if you're looking for it.
No, but, so what are you going to do after these 30 days or 31 days?
Or what,
whatever it is. And I would encourage you to really assess how you're feeling. Because if you've gone 30 days and you're trying to prove to yourself that you don't have a problem or something, don't focus on that. Focus on how you feel. How are you feeling? Are you feeling more energy? Are you, I hope you took a picture of before and after because I'll tell you what.
You'll see it.
That helped me make some decisions. But I just felt so much better. But what I want to say is after that 30 days, you might be feeling good at the end of 30, 31 days. I can guarantee you at the end of 6 months, how great you feel.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, and so, that stay dry.
What's that to make like a pro con or plus, like
pros and cons.
What do I miss? But what have I gained?
And, the gains. Focus on
focus on the gains. That's what Luke would say. Focus on the gains.
You got to focus on the gains because I can tell you with your brain's feeling better. One thing that people often will say, and I know a lot of people do immediately sleep better. I did not, but my quality of sleep.
Quality of sleep is a trick.
Quality of sleep improved.
Anybody can pass out. That doesn't mean you're sleeping well.
Anxiety improved so much over the first 6 months. That first month, I was still having some anxiety, enough that I was having the anxiety at night. So I called my doctor and I took an anti-anxiety. It wasn't a sleeping pill, but it did help me at the very beginning.
Right.
And then I only took it a few
Not long.
times. I did not, and I'm.
All I know is the pharmacy refilled it way more times than you need, so you have quite the collection of it.
Yeah. So I need to go and turn that in.
Apparently that light's on a timer too. We just learned that turned off.
That light is off. I don't know, Matt.
I don't know. Things we're learning
But
here on the fly. At least it didn't
I
lock
tell you
up.
what, it is the inaugural
have no
episode,
idea.
I guess,
Yes, I have no idea what that
the
light just-
new studio. The light went off.
When we get to our interview, you'll see the lights back on because that was
Yeah,
already
then the light will
recorded.
come back on when we go to the interview portion. But
that out.
moving right along,
Sorry. Yeah. Thank you.
I'm going to bring us back home.
It's not troubleshoot in the middle of the podcast. It's time for the drink of the week.
Drink of the week.
What is yours, Coach Amy, that
okay.
you found in the refrigerator that you forgot we had?
This is Bravus non-alcoholic peanut butter stout. So,
Which, as we decided, is not terribly peanut buttery. So if you don't like peanut butter, but you want a hint, maybe not even a hint.
I think when you bought this for me, you thought it was going to be like a chocolate stout, just based on the thing. So what I would want
Is more peanut butter?
No,
or
I would
chocolate?
want this to be like a chocolate peanut butter cup flavor if I was gonna do that. But
You're
it
too hooked up
doesn't-
on the Go Brewing's chocolate covered cherry stout.
Yeah, this
which-
doesn't taste.
It just tastes like a stout. It's not bad. It's just don't get your hopes up about the peanut butter. Is my 2 cents on it.
Yeah, it's good as a stout.
There you go.
I mean, it's not. It's I mean, I like it, but it's not something that the peanut butter is not.
Not there.
It's just not.
Which is good or bad, but I don't know. If you're buying it for the peanut butter, you're going to be a little sad. Just saying.
I don't know. Maybe it's my taste buds. I don't know.
It could be it.
Yeah.
I am doing the Lyres, speaking from our last week's podcast when we talked about Lyres premixed cocktails we found on deal at Home Goods, which if you have a Home Goods, go check it out. It is quite like 60% off. We only had, there was like 3 left when we went this weekend. Now, granted, we bought half of it when we were there last weekend, but.
Oh, and what's funny is I'm on a Facebook group, non-alcoholic
Shocker.
drinks or whatever. It was all over.
Was it?
It was all over. People
word
were
got
like,
out.
you got to get to Home
Yes.
Goods. You got to get to Home Goods.
Yes.
We pretty much, I think, cleared our Home Goods out.
Well, the Classico for sure. No, we didn't clear it. We didn't buy everything of anyone, but we did clean out a lot of some of them. So
That aperitif, I did not.
no, and there's still a lot of that left. So there's a good reason because not so much.
The aperitif.
But I'm drinking their G&T, which is they're basically a gin and tonic, and I've had it before. It's very tasty. I love it.
60 calories.
Oh,
Does it have a lot of sugar in
Oh,
it?
probably.
Since we're
Since you're talking sugar, this podcast, 13 grams,
yeah, so we're
and
going in.
they're all added sugar.
Oh, of course. So we're going into our interview
Dr. Ginny.
with Dr. Ginny Trierweiler. Did I say that right? Trierweiler?
We're gonna say yes.
Anyway, so Dr. Ginny, let me just give we had a great interview coming for you. So I'm going to go ahead and just go ahead and read a little bit about Dr. Ginny to everybody.
That we would have thought she had ready as she sits here trying to stall to try and find it.
I did, but here's a little bit about Dr. Ginny. She is a psychologist and a board-certified coach who has helped hundreds of women or hundreds of people make important changes in their habits to live their most fulfilling and actualizing their lives. She decided several years ago that she needed to conduct some in-depth research and really got into the science on eating, weight loss, habit change to unlock the secrets of achieving and maintaining a right-sized body. She overcame her own challenges with weight gain over many years of failure. And now I'm going to go into this part. Dr. Ginny guides smart women over 40 to truly healthy, slenderful, I love that word, eating and sustainable weight loss. She is a doctoral trained psychologist with over 25 years of success, helping people transform their lives through achieving change in entrenched habits like eating and drinking. And so now we will just take you to our interview. We have Dr. Ginny Trierweiler, who is a psychologist, with us today. She's also a certified This Naked Mind coach. I actually got to know you via This Naked Mind through the mastermind after my coach's training.
Yes.
And you have a program called Slender for Good. I have to make sure
That's
I
right.
get that right. And it was, we have talked several times. I've gone through like your mini program, which was very educational, very beneficial. And it's really targeted to women who are over 40.
Yes.
Who have all of a sudden, they have not had issues with losing weight or keeping weight off. And then all of a sudden they're like, what is going on?
What happened?
Yeah. Why am I gaining weight? And so that we will get to that part,
Yes.
but I wanted to first just ask you, as when we get started here, if you could just tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're at, what you do for fun, and and then we'll kind of get into the alcohol/food journey that you underwent.
Cool. Yeah, where I'm at, it's a little bit interesting. I was living in Colorado my adult life, and then in the last 3 years, I moved to Oaxaca, Mexico. So I live in a whole different country that speaks a whole different language now. And part of that is because I wanted to keep my brain really active.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah. And then tell us, what first off, let's just ask, what prompted this move? I mean, besides, hey, I want to get my brain active and everything. Because correct me if I'm wrong, you didn't know how to speak the language.
Well, I studied it a couple of years in college, and I lived in Mexico a few months in the 80s.
Okay.
So I did speak some Spanish, and I practiced in Spanish as a psychologist, actually, in Denver for a while. Yeah. So when I got here, my housekeeper says, you really didn't speak Spanish when you got here. You speak much better now. I was like, okay, you're probably right. Because
that's where I think that's where I had gotten that part of it then. Okay. Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Well, tell us what you do for fun, and tell us about your practice as well.
Okay. What I do for fun, I would say mostly going for walks and going for hikes and having deep conversations with friends are the biggest things for me. I'm a little bit of an introvert. And so those kinds of activities, being in nature, being with one person at a time, are very feeding to me, being deeply connected to people and deeply connected to nature. I have German Shepherds. I just got a German Shepherd puppy 6 months ago. Oh my goodness.
I just saw a little meme that showed a German Shepherd through its life. It's like 0 to 6 months is like the puppy. Then it turns into Tyrannosaurus Rex for about 5 years, and then it becomes a regular dog.
Right. Then it becomes something wonderful in a few years.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. So, okay. Tell us, let's just kind of jump into your freedom from alcohol/freedom from food.
Okay.
Journey.
Yeah, they really went together for me. I know people think that's a little bit weird, but when I look back, they were very, very intertwined. I probably started drinking too much in high school. I just fell in love with it and found it was just so great, but then felt like, but I only drink on the weekends. I don't drink every day until I did, right? Mm-hmm. And I used to be able to eat anything and not gain weight, and was very proud of it. Very proud of how junky I ate and still never gained weight, right? Like, see, this is how everybody should eat. Donuts for breakfast, right? And then I hit menopause. Actually, I tried getting pregnant in my 40s, about 42, and did fertility treatments. And so it kicked me into menopause like overnight. And wasn't able to have children. And so suddenly in menopause, and my body just started changing in ways I didn't recognize. So over time, I gained 60 pounds. I didn't feel like I could date anymore. I kept waiting for the weight to come off, right? And I kept waiting to improve my drinking. But my eating and drinking became my self-care. It felt like, like, oh, this is how I love myself. I work really hard for everyone all day, every day. And then I have this wonderful, indulgent food and drink every night. And it just was not adding up to what I thought it should add up to. And I had this dream, I'm going to be youthful and hiking in the mountains in my 80s, right? I was living in Colorado, but by my mid 50s, I could barely walk anymore. I had so much pain and inflammation throughout my system. It makes me want to cry when I think about just what shape I was in at that point. Yeah. So then I had a couple of big wake-up calls. I started working in nursing homes as a psychologist, and I thought, oh, these people are going to be in their 80s and 90s, and I'm going to help them with the last years of their lives. They were in their 60s and 70s. They weren't that much older than me. I don't know if people know. Most of the people in the nursing homes are only in their 60s and 70s. And so they were all saying, can you get me out of here? I don't belong here. My kids are selling my house and they're taking my car. You've got to get me out of here. So I started researching what is going on that people at this age are ending up in nursing homes. It came down to food and drink. They weren't getting out anymore. They were past the point. And I thought, Ginny, if you're honest, this is where you're headed. You're not going to be hiking in the mountains in your 80s. You already can't hike in your 50s. And so it was like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I've tried quitting drinking. I've tried cutting back. I've tried changing this stuff. I've tried Weight Watchers, all these various things, and I'm not getting anywhere. And I just got really determined at that point. I was pre-diabetic. I could barely walk. I'm headed for the nursing home. So I thought, Ginny, you're a scientist. Go to the research and figure out how this is done. And fortunately, during that time, I found Annie Grace, like you did. Mm-hmm. And so I got the help with the drinking, and at the same time was finding the key principles for eating for health. And so I changed my eating and my drinking at the same time. And sorry, I'm emotional about this.
Sure.
Like it completely transformed my life. So the pain and inflammation I had lived with for decades went away, right? The hot flashes went away. The insomnia went away. I feel younger in my 60s now than I felt throughout my 40s when I was doing this indulgent eating and drinking. And it really didn't turn out to be hard once I figured out the key, how does this work? And started doing that instead of trying to willpower my way through to just don't. I know you want to, you love it. It's so important, you deserve it, but just don't. That was never going to get me there. I had to change my behavior and the way I was thinking and feeling about the way I ate and drank.
Yeah, that deserving piece really, it sticks a lot. Like, I deserve it. I earned it. This is a reward. And it's like, it feels that way. But at the end of the day, as you found out, right, when you make those changes, it's not really as rewarding at the end of the day as what you think it is.
Right.
I'm curious. Yeah. Is some careers have a higher propensity for alcohol than others? Is psychology, is that a career that does, or that just happens?
I'm not sure. I think about dentists when you say that.
Really?
Dentists have a very high suicide rate and rate of addiction.
Really?
Which I could totally understand if I were working in people's mouths.
Wow. I had no idea. No idea. I would not to go off on a tangent. I would think that that would be a lesser stressful,
less life and death, let's say, than like an ER, right?
Yeah, that's interesting. I did do ER work. It wasn't as stressful as you might think, because you go home at the end of the day and your patients are being taken care of by someone else at that point. You don't take it home with you the same way.
There you go. Random fact of the week for you kids right there.
Well, I want to go into, now that, so you discovered that these principles, and I want to say that probably one of them would be that deserve mindset.
Mm-hmm.
Am I correct on that? Or because I just feel like that was the way I was. I had I named myself. I want everyone to know that my nickname that I had, Matt did not give me, but there were times over our marriage that it was Fun Fat Amy.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
she
yeah.
drank,
Oh,
she was eating,
yeah.
and you
Yeah.
can definitely tell there would be these crests where I would go up and wait. You
Yeah.
could see it in my face. I mean, obviously in the closet, the sizes went up
Yes.
to like I was one of these where if I got up to a size 14, I knew
Mm,
you've gone too far.
time to do something.
It's time.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
went through this um behavior pattern
Yeah.
for several years.
Yes.
And then I finally, when I quit alcohol, I felt like
Mhm.
it finally was making more sense. But then,
Mm,
as I told you prior, I started to see myself going back down that same pattern, minus the alcohol, but with the
yes.
food.
Yes. So true.
And very
There's-
similar. I mean, I'm not a scientist, but I am somebody who I'm a questioner. So I am
Yeah.
very much going, okay, you've got to look at this. There's something not right
Right.
with this. There's something, and I pride myself in when our kids were younger, like there were certain things we did not buy a lot of junk
Yeah.
food. We did
Yeah.
not buy juice. The kids did not have those were certain things that we didn't do a lot of juice boxes because I knew
Yeah.
that was just straight sugar.
Sugar. Yeah.
And so I was really good in some areas. We did have, I'm not saying that we didn't have different treats and snacks and stuff, but our son also had a peanut allergy. So
Oh,
that eliminated a lot of candy.
I bet. Yeah.
So there were a lot of things where I didn't have to worry about those things. But
Yeah.
my daughter started working at a grocery store a couple of years ago, and that's kind of also in a direct correlation with when he quit alcohol. All of a
Uh-huh.
sudden, Maggie's like, I want to try this. I want to get this. And
Yeah.
all of these things that I had kind of felt like I had protected our family from were starting to come in the house as well.
Yeah. Well, so many people I find start really take up sugar when they quit drinking, and that's part of the addiction is the sugar in the alcohol. You know, it hits our brain with sugar, and so it feels so natural to switch over to
Mm-hmm.
sugar. For me, I don't know that one is less bad than the other. They both were ruining my health.
Yes.
Yeah.
And what are the things that when you discovered this, because
Yeah.
you are you have your doctorate, you're a doctor, you are a scientist.
Yeah.
Where do you think, why did it take, because I'm going to say, a very educated person who's working with people,
Yeah.
why do I not know this? Did you have those questions? Like,
It's
why do I
interesting.
not know this?
Yeah. Well, in fact, yeah, I do. It's part of what I talk about in my event is we are so misled in our current environment. Humans have not had to face an environment like this in the past. And even in the past just 50, 60 years, you see the health of people in the United States, and everywhere they're eating this way now is just going really downhill because people are eating and drinking what they think is a healthy alternative to something they know is bad for them. But this one is not as bad. You know, I love chocolate. This is dark chocolate. There's just constant kind of promotion of better alternatives of bad things. And so it's our culture. It's like how, if you get sick or upset or sad or frustrated or celebrating, people are going to bring you either alcohol or sugar, typically,
And
right?
the next big holiday
It's all alcohol
coming
and
up
sugar.
is all alcohol, all sugar.
All sugar, yes, yes.
That is so.
So it's our culture really that's put us in so much trouble. And so that's what's so difficult to fight. That's why I created this program that it gives people enough time to change not just their behavior, but how they feel and how they think about alcohol and sugar, et cetera, and how we feel about nutritious foods. Like there's all these wonderful foods our body needs that we feel are boring. That's the culture we live in. This is trouble. We can get our wisdom back, but it's a little bit of a fight against our culture as we do that.
It is so. I think it's a fight. I don't
It's
think
a fight.
it's a fight.
Yeah.
Because just like you said, we are, you and I and anybody who is preaching a different message is going against the grain of our society. And big food, big alcohol.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all coming
big
at
pharma.
Big pharma. It's all coming at us. And that do this and you'll be okay. And I think as human beings, we like to be told what to do.
Yeah. Yeah. And we like simple solutions. Our primitive brain says, I really need a simple solution for this. Well, here's a pill. Yeah. Don't worry if you have high cholesterol, high blood pressure, high sugar. Just take a pill. That pill is going to cause some other problems, and it's not going to get at the real issue. And changing our eating and drinking, it's just a big domino. It just changes everything else. Gives you when you're eating for real energy, so different from eating for that rush, right?
Yeah. And you went through such a huge transformation.
Yeah.
How long was that transformation?
Yeah, that's interesting. I didn't know I was going to end up helping people with this or writing a book about it or anything like that. So I don't know. I sort of envision it being a year of things flipping over 100%, like just huge.
Wow.
It wasn't overnight.
No.
But I work with a lot of women now, and there are certain things that change pretty fast. Right? Some people start getting a lot more energy, like, oh, I didn't even know this energy was still in there. Some people start getting a transformation in their gut where suddenly they don't have gut issues that they've had. And people have what I had, which is I'm in pain all the time to I'm never in pain anymore.
That's amazing.
Right?
And I know that Matt, you can share Matt, go ahead.
But my gut health?
Your gut health.
Oh, yeah. The gut health is just a complete 180. Yeah.
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 And Jenny, I'm curious, you get pushback from people you talk to, because I used to smoke and I quit smoking years and years ago, but I hear people quit smoking and drinking at the same time. Do people make comments to you about how am I going to quit both these? Like, I can't give up all my treats, right? I can't give up all my special things.
Yes.
So do people push back or question that? Or do you have an approach for people when they bring you that kind of objection?
Yeah, we do tell each other that all the time, change one thing at a time. It's just better. And that may be true in some cases. In some cases, it's easier because the physical cravings, the addiction response in our brain, when we switch from alcohol to sugar, we're keeping those pathways very alive. We're keeping those cravings very alive. Some people feel like, I don't care if I crave sugar. It isn't hurting me. I'm fine. My research says otherwise, that it actually is hurting us. It's toxic and it's keeping the addiction pathways fired up. So I hate that feeling of addiction. Like, I really want it, I really need it. And like just being obsessed and fixated on something. I get like that with sugar so fast, just like with alcohol.
And it affects the same part of our brain.
Yeah.
And it also affects our liver.
Yeah.
The same.
Yeah.
That was something that I was shocked about.
Yeah.
And now we have children who are very young.
Yeah.
Are being diagnosed with mild fatty liver disease.
Yes.
And now they're also, they're instead of adult onset diabetes.
Yes.
It's happening to kids, who are in junior high and high school.
Yeah.
And even younger. I've even.
Yes.
And that is
it's disgusting.
It is. It's crazy.
Yeah.
And everybody keeps, when I listen to different podcasts, because like I said, my podcast list is just so diverse, and it used to just be alcohol, but now it's much more on science.
Interesting.
I want to know, and when you're listening to different psychiatrists, neuroscience scientists who are saying what is going wrong. I mean, I really don't think the answer is that far off. We are eating, our food is not real anymore.
Yeah.
And I look at it as when I'm looking at things, and I'm not perfect at this by any means, but if it's something that's man-made, I'm trying to avoid, and I'm trying to look at things that are made by God and nature.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And if it's, then I feel like, oh, it's whole foods. It's something that's better for me.
Yeah.
Than all of this
highly processed stuff. Yeah. There's an interesting book I keep talking about right now called Metabolical. And so you got it.
I wondered if this would come up. We'll put that in the show notes.
Diabolical how much it's being promoted to us that these things are benign. Alcohol's benign. It's as long as you're not an alcoholic. Yes. Sugar is benign. Just don't do too much. When we say just don't do too much, we're acknowledging this is not benign. It's at least a dose-dependent toxin, right? If we do too much of it, we're going to have toxicity in our system. Well, I started realizing there are things that are good for my body and there are things that are bad for my body. And it's a lie to say it's all the same. It's, oh, no, you can have this, just don't have too much. No, it's dishonest. If that's bad for my body, as I was approaching 60, I don't want it anymore. I don't think my body is going to just keep bouncing back. It looks like that is over.
Yeah.
I love that analogy of if it's really benign, then you wouldn't have to make that comment about just don't do too much. Like clearly there's something wrong if a little is fine, but a lot's also, nobody's ever said that about apples. It's okay. You have an apple, just don't have too many apples. Right?
Right.
Yeah. And it puts it again, as you and I know, it puts it on the person. It's your fault.
Right.
It's your fault that you can't control yourself.
Yes.
But again, we go back with all of these things with big food, and alcohol, they're making things that artificially light up our one brain.
Right.
And I was listening to I can't remember, I'd have to go back and look, but it was just on a recent podcast. And the gentleman was saying that here we are, because he raised his children without sugar. He quit alcohol when he was in his late 20s. And he's like, we're telling people that it's your fault.
Yes.
We're making food that lights up all of this.
Yep.
And his message is very similar to yours, that wait a minute, what are we doing to people? And then it gets us into those shame and blame.
That doesn't help.
No.
Yeah.
And but my thing is, how do we get this message to younger audiences?
Yeah.
I mean, as a mom now, my kids are old enough. They're like, well, I'm going to try this. And they're getting these messages like crazy.
Yeah.
And the artificial sweeteners, the sugar, all of this stuff, it really destroys our brains. It makes our brains want no matter what. Yes. And then it causes the anxiety. It causes the depression. What have you found out about sugar with anxiety?
Well, I was just thinking about how both sugar and alcohol really wreck our gut, right? Fast. So they really feed the bad bacteria. They really kill the good bacteria. And that's where most of our mood comes from, right? Is from our gut. So most of our serotonin receptors, which is a chemical that feels calming and pleasing and contentment kind of feeling, are in our gut. So like every drink of alcohol, we can say, well, I only have one glass. Well, you killed the bacteria in your gut with that one glass.
Wow.
And you need those bacteria for your immune system. You need them for your mood. I was an anxious wreck when I was drinking, all while thinking it's calming me down. I need it to calm down. I won't be able to sleep without it, like freaking myself out. And then with some time away from both sugar and alcohol, because I think it was both of them, then I didn't have that kind of anxiety at all anymore. So evaporated.
Oh my
We don't realize we're poisoning ourselves because our culture says it's so normal, it's so fine.
And it's okay. And it's good to feel good. It's good to have this. Like you said, we work hard.
Right.
Do all these things. So we should be we
deserve this. Yes.
And that
you deserve to feel good. You don't need to poison yourself to do it though.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think that's the big thing is marketing of all of these, the bigs, I would say big food, big alcohol, and big pharma have taken that message of you deserve to feel better.
Yeah.
But you even said, like, okay, I've got somebody, here's a pill. This will make it. And now, I don't know, I'm sure you're aware of this, but now what is it? I don't know if it's the FDA or who makes these approvals, but now that drug that we're going to be able to give people that they can lose weight, I don't remember what it's called, but they've approved it for children. But one of the caveats of it is once you start this,
you have to always take it.
You can't get off of it.
Oh my gosh.
And they haven't done enough really trials or anything on this. I mean, long-term trials. How could you?
Yeah.
And basically, it's just been approved. I would have to research what it's called, but I'm sitting there going, again, we're telling people that go ahead, eat whatever you want. Now we have a shot.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's terrible. You know, I was taking ibuprofen every day for 35 years. And I could not stop. I had so much pain and inflammation, and I felt like, you can't tell me not to do this. I need this. I can't sleep. I can't function without it. When I changed my eating, I didn't need those pills anymore. I had started taking additional pills at night for nerve pain, right? And that's what pills do, is they keep you from noticing what will actually change this at the root, and they lead you to more pills, right? More doctors, etc. So no.
Well, if you're laying on all that ibuprofen, now you're hurting your kidneys. So now you got kidneys and livers that are getting beat up. You know, you're beating up your liver, which then you need to beat up your kidneys to take care of that. You're right. It becomes a snowball. Now let's take a pill to fix that and a pill to fix that.
Right. Yes.
And the cycle is too. I mean, if we eat these this awful food.
Yeah.
Then,
food like substances, I say.
Yes, food like substances. Then we end up, we don't feel well. So we have to go to a doctor. Right. They're going to prescribe something for us. Yeah. And so it's just another cycle that you get yourself into.
Yes.
And who makes money off of all of
that? Yeah, there's a bunch of people making money off our getting sick. Yes. And being sick, most of us are going to be sick the last 10 years of our lives. This is not how humans are meant to live. We just think of it as normal. Our doctors think of it as normal. What do you expect, Ginny? You're over 50.
Yeah. And now here you are.
Yeah.
You feel great. You're, I mean, I would have never known until, going through your 5-day that you were in your 60s. I have no idea that. I mean, and those are the things that I think people need to be aware of, that you want to live your best life. And the other thing is everything you're doing in your 20s and your 30s is affecting what now they're calling type 3 diabetes, which is dementia.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, and what we're doing as a society to our bodies and our brains, and we're just getting sicker and sicker, and it doesn't make any sense.
But we can arm ourselves with different information and start going, no, you know what? I don't want that glass of wine. I don't want that candy. But if you have any celery.
Yeah.
I brought my giant salad with me.
Jenny, I'm curious. So you're kind of a hero story, right? You've come out the other side. You're healthy. Everything's kind of going the right way now. What were challenges? We're the alcohol-free marriage podcast. Not saying marriage related, but just relationship wise. When you get deep into these food things and these drinking things, you tend to protect those more than relationships, right? It's like that. So do you have any kind of stories to share of those challenges when you were kind of deep in that valley?
I think that a couple of things that I would share is that I had periodically I had serious relationships, and one of the things I became aware of when I quit drinking is I always chose guys who drank, right? And when you start dating, when you quit drinking, you're like, oh, do I need to tell them in advance that I don't drink before we even have one date? I just had one of my friends, clients, talking to me about this yesterday. She just started telling people I don't drink before the date because otherwise she feels like she has to drink on a date. So the drinking was really an issue. And I can tell you, many of those relationships didn't work because of our drinking. Because we would check out instead of staying connected to notice what's wrong, to talk through what's wrong. Instead, we would hit something wrong and then drink and then pretend like we forgot about it, right? So things were never getting solved.
Yeah, kicking the can. Just
Yeah,
kick it
that's a
down.
great,
We'll
yeah.
just that's great insight. When you're working with women on that, do you notice that is a symptom that they have or in their relationships that they struggle with?
Yes. A lot of women feel like I've got to eat and drink what he's eating and drinking. Otherwise, it's this disconnect between us. And so I have to help them make a different choice that way. Like if we eat and drink the way most people in our society are eating and drinking, we are choosing to have the last 10 years of our lives sick with diabetes or heart disease or cancer or dementia. So once we realize it's that stark, I can either eat well and feel well for a long, long time, or I can eat and drink like other people and end up ill and in addiction and dying early, right? After years of being sick. So we have to make a different choice. And what somebody else eats or drinks can't be under our control ever.
Yeah. I think that's a very powerful message, because I know I'm working with a small group right now of women that were, who struggle with this. And it is very much, many people struggle, women struggle with their partners. Like, well, he's still drinking.
Yes.
Or he's having this. And they're getting then that message as well that's saying from their partner going, well, it's not that bad. Your drinking's
right.
not that bad.
Just have a drink with me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think there's such a disconnect for them. Yeah. And it's such a struggle, because even though I've got some who will say, well, I won't drink, but then all of a sudden something happens and then they'll go ahead and go back to that pattern. And it's, I mean, that's normal. That's the way our brains work.
It is. Yeah.
But it is just, I find that it's just so hard for women to deal with that. Like, because we're supposed to be these caregivers and helping that other person feel comfortable.
Yes, that's so good. I had practically a phobia of making anyone else embarrassed about their drinking. Like, I'd rather drink and end up in addiction again than make you feel uncomfortable with your drinking.
Wow. Yeah.
I just caught myself saying this stuff, and I finally said, you know what? You're acting like you don't choose what goes into your body. You're acting like it just happens to you and nobody can blame you, and that's just how it is. How about changing this? It's 100% my choice what I put into my body. And it matters. I can tell myself it doesn't, but it does. And I can see it, right? With all these symptoms, including the excess 60 pounds of fat, right?
Through this research, another common theme, I don't know if this has come up, but I'm going to bet it probably has, because one of the things that I know for me with alcohol is to finally have that belief in myself that I'm enough.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm enough. And
I love it.
That's where I'm where I'm working. We're also, you're working with someone and they don't have that belief in themselves. And I think that the alcohol and the food, as we know, and we get in those patterns, it creates that mental stories.
I need this outside thing just to function, just to go on.
And then when you see them say, I am enough.
Clicks.
Do you feel that was probably part of your journey as well?
Definitely. Yeah. In fact, I remember early days, like just kind of fighting through the early days. I would read this thing every morning, this affirmation that said, I have limitless potential within. And I remember so vividly crying and saying, no, I don't. I don't know where the strong part of me is anymore. It's gone. It's embarrassing, it's shameful, but that's where I am. But I would read it every day anyway with my prayers. And little by little, it started to take hold. And yeah, we do. We need to know, I can do this. I used to be a strong person. That person's still in there. I just need to bring her out. Yeah.
And that it's so insidious what this has done to us, because it really just, the more weight we put on and the more we get into that cycle, the worse the worse we feel.
Yes.
And it's so hard.
Well, this is why it really is great to get a coach, right?
Yes.
Somebody who will lend you their confidence. I believe in you. You can do this, while you're going, I don't know, I'm not sure.
Yeah. Oh, that's great.
Jenny, I'm curious, going kind of back to the idea of like the peer pressure of, people, why are you not drinking? Why aren't you having cake? Whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know if you have evidence or it's anecdotal from your work. Do people find there's more peer pressure from quitting alcohol versus quitting sugar, or vice versa? Like, is there more stigma of like, why aren't you eating cake versus, because people go on diets all the time. So you're not eating cake, I understand, but like, why aren't you drinking? Is there one that people tend to get more pushback on when they're trying to, be in a social situation?
I don't know. I think both of them. The thing about eating is it's more mixed in to our lives than drinking. Drinking got mixed in with everything for me. But the eating issues started in childhood, when if you're upset, your teacher, your mom gives you candy or cake or something, right? So it's very, very old.
Right.
Right. It's very from childhood that we thought candy went with everything.
Candy and sweets are love.
Sweets are love. Yes.
That reward.
Or popcorn. I remember popcorn being love.
Isn't that crazy? I want to switch us a little bit to talk about our spirituality and how that was affected by your drinking and the food as well, and how you felt that opened up to you when you quit. Because I know that for me, I had my faith, but I think when I was drinking, if you go from a scale, my faith was probably about here. Like I could keep bumping up.
Yes.
But I didn't feel it finally just open and unlock until I quit drinking. It was just this constant beating myself up of the shame and blame. And I'm not only not living up to what I want, but I'm not living up to what my higher power and what God is telling me I can be. What about you?
Yeah, I found the same thing. It's like I was just hitting a wall. I was hitting a ceiling. I just could not connect. Well, when I talk about like I limitless potential within, this is a Buddhist concept, this idea that we're Buddhas actually. And like, what? I don't think so. Somebody might be a Buddha, but I'm not a Buddha. And when you fundamentally don't believe that you have this higher thing within, then you are in a fundamental state of disillusionment, right? So we're trying to achieve enlightenment, but we are fundamentally unenlightened, disillusioned, buying into the lies of the world when we're saying, I can't. I can't choose what goes into my body. And so it was like I say, it was a fight to get reconnected to the best parts of myself. And it was what caused the tears. It was the deepest part of why I wanted to change this.
Yeah. Because I know for me, when I was in that fog, because it was a fog.
Fog, yes.
You're in a fog all the time. You're just always in a fog. And then then throw in the anxiety spikes.
Yeah.
But now I know I was really at a constant state of alert and anxiety with my drinking. And you're just like, I remember having, what's the point? I remember having those thoughts. What's the point?
Yes.
What's the point of me even being here? Because what I'm doing, this is no good.
Yes.
And I think that for me, that's Satan for me. That's definitely this this evil that's coming in and saying, you're not good enough. You know what? Go ahead.
You don't even deserve to live.
Yep. And, but we don't, the disconnect again is the stuff we're putting in our body is fueling all of those horrible feelings.
Yes. I remember waking up at my mom's house, and we had just had a visit with my cousin and her mom. And I just felt this mirror of, Ginny, you suck. You are overweight. You're miserable, right? You're not married. You don't have kids. None of the things you ever wanted ever came true. And just kind of going into this pit of misery, waking up every morning feeling like I'd rather die than live like this, and not knowing I could change it, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's just who I am, what I am at this point. That's the biggest disconnect you can have. You're right.
Oh, that is so good. And before we wrap this up, I wanted to have you, before the last question, Mister.
There's a last question.
There's a last, but I wanted you to have you, I want you to share your program, a little bit about that. And then, because I know that that gives people so much hope.
Yes.
Hope that, that I can do this. My voice matters. So I want to have you share that with our audience.
A little bit about my program.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I help women over 40 get slender for good. And first part of that is learning a way of eating that actually nourishes your body and completely turns things around. There are hundreds and hundreds of diets out there that do not work well. And we're just trying to eat less, etc. Mine starts with eating more, and it's transformative. So first is learning a way of eating, and then it's mastering it. So overcoming the ideas, but I deserve the bad stuff, right? There's a whole lot of psychology to this that makes a huge difference. So when you start actually, you go from craving the bad stuff to craving what's actually good for you, and it becomes effortless to be able to eat this way for the rest of your life. Like, why would I ever do anything else?
Why do I want that? Why would I want to put that in? Yeah. Why do I want to put that in my body? I think that's awesome. And
all right. Well, there's a strange edit. We had a bit of a problem here, but anyway, the last question is wherever I ended this question. We are the Alcohol-Free Marriage Podcast. Obviously, you don't drink alcohol. We don't drink alcohol, and you don't eat sugars a lot. So, if you were to go out, on an evening on the town, what would be your kind of go-to beverage of choice?
Oh yeah, I really have come to like sparkling water with lime. So, this is a Coke product, CL. Not that I want to advertise Coke, but for some reason, it's a really interesting, tasty mineral water.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And I don't think we have that.
No, probably not.
Here.
Maybe not. Yeah.
That's a very common go-to, sort of like a fruit in some sort of sparkling club soda, tonic. The tonic is a lot of sugar, but club soda, sparkling.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. And you can have that anywhere.
You can have it anywhere, and it's actually hydrating, so it's actually helping my body. So it fits my theme.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, awesome. I love it. I love it. Let's see. I don't know if there's anything that you would like to, share. How
do people find you? Find your book?
Yeah. So I do have a free roadmap to sustainable weight loss after 40, why you must stop dieting if you want to lose weight for good, which I'm super passionate about, and I've written it all out. And I do a live event like you attended every few months, but right now I do have available the free roadmap at slenderforgood.com.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, and I really want to just say thank you so much for coming on here. And it's such a joy to actually talk to someone who really gets it. And I always like to bring to our audience, all right, I'm going to say this, smart people. I love bringing in psychologists. I'm like, okay, listen, this isn't just me.
Right.
We're just comm majors. You're an actual scientist.
Yeah. we have a scientist on here who is.
There's real stuff here.
There is. So it's not just me saying this. Right. So I love it. So thank you so much for being a part of this.
Thank you.
And And we will make sure that we have everything in the show notes for people to be able to contact you. And again, just thank you so much for being a part of our show today.
It was a pleasure, Matt, Amy. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you, Dr. Jenny. That was an amazing interview. I'm glad she didn't get into psychology and analyzing us, because that'd be a whole nother podcast on its own.
There you go. No,
I think the mix of sugars and alcohol, like how they work together and all, it was just
the
really
brain science.
The brain science.
And
good words.
I think that we just have to be aware, very much like she is, that big alcohol, big food, big pharma, they profit off of our suffering.
Yep.
And
they aren't looking out for your best interest, kids.
No. And so just remember, and if you need, we're going to have in the show notes the information. If you want to get in contact with her, and we hope that you do, because this is all about moving us forward. And I love her approach of actually looking at this, both of them at the same time, because it's been a struggle. And, of course, with our drinks of the week that contain sugar, it's something that we have not completely taken out of our realm, but we are striving.
Step every day, kids.
Striving, progress over perfection.
Sure. All right, kids. Well, don't forget to like, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Comment on the podcast feeders. You want feedback directly? It's amy@joyontheotherside.com. Coach Amy always answer your questions. Otherwise, I'm Matt, along with Coach.
Yeah. Remember, you can sign up also for the weekly newsletter that I'm sending out, and our 5 o'clock somewhere alcohol-free edition.
There you go.
That you will get that for free if you sign up for the newsletter.
Yeah, you may get 2 copies if you made this part of the podcast. All right, kids, that's it for us. We're wishing you peace and love from the cornfields. I am Matt, along with Coach Amy, and we are out.